Now, in the meantime, Republicans are having their own fistfight. And it's pretty bizarre to see, because for the first time in my entire life, I've never seen this before. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Again, I was born in 95, so my entire life not going to be as extensive. I've never seen Republicans, as time goes on, more Republicans joining the more populist, traditional conservative side of the aisle. I've never seen it, ever. As the debate goes on, I'm seeing more Republican senators signing on to the no debate, no sleep till Brooklyn, or no recess until Save America Act. I wasn't expecting that. It all boils down to this. One comment today, or a rant, I should say, and a good one, from Senator Kennedy of Louisiana, otherwise known as the Baptist potluck's spirit animal. No straighter talk will you get with a Southern twang than Senator Kennedy. On the Republican side of the aisle, here's the sentiment among the American people on the right.
I can't tell you how many meetings I've been in the last 6 months that should have been an email, that could have been an email, to talk about the Russian sanctions bill and to talk about election integrity and to try to get a consensus. It's not going to happen. Not in my natural lifetime, not in yours, Madam Chair, though you'll live longer than me, and not in yours, our friends in the gallery. We gotta vote. And we need to vote right now. And the American people expect it. And if there is a motion made on this floor to have us remain here until we get our work done, I'm going to vote yes. I'm going to vote yes. I can tell.
Now, I'm sorry. I want to make this clear. When I say that Kennedy here is one of the Republicans who's signing on to, again, the no sleep till Save America Act stuff, I'm not saying that he was more of an establishmentarian. I mean, what he's saying here is 100% crystal clear, correct. He's absolutely right. He is absolutely right on the money. We've been doing all of this. We've been talking about all this procedure and the insides and the niceties and the can we, should we, all this other stuff. Pass the bill.
Right now. And what is the work we need to get done? In no particular order, we need to pass the Russian sanctions bill. We need to pass the budget resolution, which will include election integrity. We need to confirm Todd Blanche.
Now, that's another chaos and another fist fight we're going to get to in a second. Democrats right now are doing all of their fist fighting either on network TV or they're doing it from their social media sort of back channel or even the private conversations. Republicans are having the fights on the floor of the Senate. I've never seen this before in my entire life. Now, spending aside. You've seen spending, Chip Roy of Texas, I can't believe we're doing this to the American people. And then Mike Lawler will get up there and go, I can believe we're doing it and we need to do more. And then Victoria Spartz gets up there and goes, I'm not on any committees. And that's like Republicans normally arguing. That's fair. This in the Senate, though, this is a different bird.
We need to pass the continuing resolution to keep government open until December the 11th. We need to vote on the cryptocurrency bill, which we've spent years on.
What does all of this have to do? Because the Senate is bogged down in procedure. This is the funniest thing to me. Episode 1, The Phantom Menace of Star Wars. Sorry, I'll throw in some sports references in the second half of the show. Go IU. But in the very first episode of the prequels, the Star Wars franchise for the prequels, episode 1, Palpatine is essentially allowing Naboo to be under invasion and all of this mess because he has the Senate bogged down in procedures. And that's meant to be the audience, this sign of a bloated legislature that's good for absolutely nothing. Now, it went over like a lead balloon because people didn't used to tune in to watch Star Wars for politics. But it was so obvious. It's like, why won't they just vote on the thing? It doesn't make any sense to me. Why not just do the thing? This is what the Senate is right now. And it is because of the leadership transferred from Mitch McConnell of Kentucky to John Thune. And it is just the way that all of these little rules that Republicans always follow and Democrats never do. And then they'll get in front of you and they'll tell you that actually they were doing the right thing all along. So Thune, again, right now, Republicans are having this big fist fight over Todd Blanche for Attorney General. Again, he's the acting Attorney General right now. He's in this whole confirmation process. You heard Chuck Schumer freaking out about it. Over the Save America Act. And then like a bunch of other backed up legislation that should have been passed ages ago. But the Senate won't just go vote on things and then debate. They're like, well, the subcommittee for the second committee is on schedule for 3 hours after the retaping of the second committee vote of the third ancillary action of the... Robert's Rules of Order were not meant to be some type of cult, Chief. And yet here's John Thune, just...
Busy week in the Senate. A lot going on. A lot of... We're juggling a lot of balls right now, but there are some things that we intend to get done this week. And the first is to ensure that we get about 75 of the president's nominations through.
Look at how proud he is of himself here.
In block. And so there are a number of very qualified nominees that the president has put forward. And if we can get those across the finish line this week, and we intend to,
Radio crew, I will have to sign out. I'll save you the trouble. He brags about something that could have been done in 5 minutes about 2 months ago. We'll see you guys on the radio side tomorrow. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast. We've got a lot more to continue on the live stream, youtube.com/Daily Signal. We'll see you there. So John Thune gets up in front of the country and goes, we've been juggling a lot of balls. And I mean, that joke killed on the first season of Andy Griffith. When Aunt B said, oh, you boys juggling a lot of balls. And then Don Knotts was like, Andy? And then like the episode credits end and you got the whistle. All right, that's John Thune starting off there. And so two of the corpses next to him were like, and then he says, we've got a whole 75 confirmation appointments there. Only here's the thing. If the Senate went to actual recess, the president could just recess appointments, all of them. But John won't. Because the entire point of the Senate for John Thune, at least in this current strategy, is to do a whole lot of nothing. Nothing. There's this old idea, and it's pervasive throughout the political landscape, and I've become increasingly annoyed with it throughout the last couple of years that I've worked in politics. There was this idea that here in the conservative world, we never slap right. We never slap right. No, there's a bigger foe to fight. No, we don't. No. Here's my take. During the general election season, I am less inclined to fight fellow Republicans, conservatives, or those on the right, whatever, because there is, in fact, a bigger foe to fight. But my brothers and sisters in Christ, it just so happens we are in the primary season. And in the primary season, while Republicans have power, I want to know why you should be there in Congress. I want to know why it is that you should be doing things supposedly on my behalf. Why am I paying you? This is, by the way, some of the conversation that I pressed against some of my own legislators. And believe it or not, over the last couple of years, unlike certain senators from the South Dakotan side of the country, it just so happens that in Indiana, at least, some of my representatives and senators have turned around and started doing some more online with the active Republican, more conservative and populist members of the Senate and the House. I was shocked to see Representative Jefferson Shreve of the 6th turn around and look at Representative Maria Salazar over the amnesty bill, the Dignidad Act, and tell her to, I believe his words in the committee were, piss off, leave me alone. I didn't know Shreve had it in him. I was like, wow, no kidding. And then the same with Senator Todd Young has now come out alongside Jim Banks and said no recess till till the Save America Act. What's going on? I'm sorry. I'm just really, really happy to see it. It's a nice thing to see every once in a while. And while John Thune is trying to pat himself on the back, he can't avoid the reality that a lot of the Republican Party in every state is getting sick and tired of having senators that are just blocks of wood. Just Gumby in the freezer, not moving, just kind of laying there, doing a whole lot of nothing for nobody.
Isolated by the president when he says he wants you to stay in session, wants you to pass the Save America Act?
well, I think
So the question is, you've been talking to the president, you're going to pass the Save America Act, you're going to do anything here? If there are obstructions, who are the obstructions?
the president, I've heard from him a couple times this morning on issues that he cares about. Wouldn't say I'm isolated, no. I mean, I've been very clear about the prospects for the Save America Act. And the only thing I've said all along is we have voted on the Save America Act 5 times.
That's very misleading. By the way, that's very, very misleading. You're like, wait a minute, where was I for these votes? When the Senate says they voted on the Save America Act here, no. You voted on whether or not you would consider voting on the procedure to the new vote of the next day sometime to consider the voting for the Save America Act. That's what it was. These aren't 5 whole Senate votes where everyone was on the record. I know, I've been watching. So that's just misleading.
It was the pending business on the floor of the Senate for over 2 weeks.
Why was it the pending business on the Senate for the floor for 2 weeks? Why? Why 2 weeks? You're the leader of the Senate. You set the schedule.
And I am willing to, in any way possible, get that across the finish line if there is a path to do it. But there are 2 realities and 2 facts you have to deal with. And the first is there are no Democrats who are going to vote for this. All 47 voted against the SAVE Act 5 times.
47. Now let's see. The majority in the Senate would be 51. And if there's 47 Democrats, well, like 45 and 2 independents who caucus with the Democrats, might be missing one there. That would leave 53 Republicans, which means you as the Senate leader, you have this really cool thing to do here. And I would do this when I was a teacher. If I had a student who was being the kind word here would be, if I had a student who was being a jackass, a certified hee-hawing jackass, after trying to work things quietly over a while, there comes a time when you use them as an example in front of the rest of the class. And that often breaks a kind of pride.
So let's make this an issue in the campaign. How about...
Okay. So that'll work. Oh, I'm sure. So Republicans who are 53, which means they can enforce a filibuster. Again, the filibuster, everyone's talking about breaking the filibuster, taking the filibuster, shaking and making, bop at the filibuster. Not the same thing here. The filibuster, if they bring the vote to the floor, then Democrats would be required to do some talking, a talking filibuster. There's this unwritten rule right now where if you don't have 60 votes and it's not financial and it's not, reconciliation, i.e. balancing the budget, then we're not even going to try. But for the vast majority of this country's history, you had the other side of the aisle argue why the bill shouldn't pass. And then either the side that put the bill forward would rescind the bill and say, all right, we'll do some rewriting. Or the bill would just go through after the other side kind of finished talking and exhausted themselves. That's how it worked. So at this point right now, Thune is I'm sorry, he's just being dishonest. The actual answer here, I'm sorry, I just don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. The idea that, you can't just call out offices. You and I know that it is Susan Collins of Maine, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, Senator Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, Tom Tillis of North Carolina, Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, John Cornyn of Texas, and then also John Curtis of Utah. Those are the Republican senators. You only need 3-4 of those to say they're not going to do it. Those are the senators that aren't going to do it. But instead of having balls, instead of having testosterone, instead of having cojones, you have Senate Majority Leader John Thune who's like, we just don't have the vote. I don't know who these votes could be. I don't know who they are. Or check it out. Again, this is why I think that the 17th Amendment should be repealed, is that then state legislatures who are upset, and from what I've seen right now, the Republican states, like all of these red states around the country and purple states with majority Republican legislatures, all of those states, every last one of them, every Republican Commonwealth and state have made it clear that they are very in support of the Save America Act. Every one of those Republican legislatures, which means that if you have senators that aren't doing anything, you could recall them and appoint a different senator. And also it would come with the wonderful side effect of people caring about their, state legislatures for once, which, just what a concept. And now we finally get to the second half here. So Thune's first rule is that I can't count to 50. And apparently Thune's retarded. Number 2, though, he says, we're not getting rid of the filibuster. And he invents a fan fiction for how the filibuster works.
So we're not, that's the point. So we're not getting any Democrats. The second thing is we are not getting rid of the legislative filibuster. The votes aren't there to do that. I've made it.
You don't need to, I'm sorry, this idea, the votes aren't there to get rid of the filibuster. You don't need a 60 vote ruling on getting rid of the filibuster. That's not a thing. And if the votes aren't there, tell us which Republicans aren't there for it. Maybe they can be persuaded. Maybe that by keeping it really ambiguous like this, what it prevents is a bunch of pressure coming into McConnell's office. It prevents Tom Tillis getting a bunch of calls. Now, again, McConnell, Tillis, Cassidy, and Cornyn, again, you only need 4. They're already on their way out, guys. They're retiring. Oh, you're going to strip their committee assignments? They don't care. They're already on their way out. They're a bunch of pissy old men who feel as though they've been wronged. Just, oh, my pearls. And so they are not going to do anything. So guys, the answer is no. But Thune could at least have the courage to stand up and call them out for it. Because then in the next primary, you would have candidates that actually leaned into that stuff. I know, kind of cool.
Abundantly clear many, many times, and it seems to me some days that I'm the only one here who can count to 50 in this town, but we don't have the votes to get rid of the filibuster.
I'm the only one who can count to 50. You're the only one, theoretically, who knows where the Republicans stand. You're the leader. If you have people who are not playing ball, they have lost the right to private confidentiality. This happens in political organizations as well, by the way. Great example of that. Even when people disagree, you can be very cordial and you can at least work together on things. So for example, just a very personal example here, I have a different view on foreign policy than another member of the Daily Signal team, than Bradley Devlin, our political editor. We have a very, very different opinion on the role of the United States in some of these conflicts. However, we also work rather well together on a number of private and public issues. If I ever started undermining Bradley at every single way and turn and undercutting him and throwing him to the wolves and acting like a general jackass, then he would have every right to go before the public and say, you know what? Tony Kinnett's the worst, and kind of rolling me off of the Thanksgiving table onto the floor. Thune's not doing that here, though. It's very, very bizarre. And it just comes from this old idea of we don't slap right. It's antiquated and it's not working, because what does it matter if I'm sending a Republican Congress that's not even going to pass the bills that I voted for?